we are developing students for the industry, career technical education, so that they become our replacements.
These young people have chosen this opportunity to get a jump start on their career.
They'll have a better idea about what they want to do and what they're good at by the time they leave high school.
There's some great opportunities for these students that are coming out of the career and technical programs from Henrico County.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Henrico CTE Now. I am Reshawn Garnett, and with me I have
Mike Roberts.
And today we are playing an away game. I was about to say another away game, but last time we were at the Ace and our Hermitage. Does that really count as an away game? That's kind of
away
like
for us. It's not the Bat Cave.
Yeah, it's not the not the CTE Bat Cave inside the CTE offices, but like I said, here we are inside of the Henrico Federal Credit Union, the West End branch, right here on West Broad Street. Got another guest for you today, but first I want to remind you to check us out on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all at the handle Henrico CTE. Mike, tell them where they can find the podcast.
You can find the podcast on all of your major and minor podcast venues, such as Apple, Spotify, Google, and a bunch more.
So however you want to listen, wherever you want to listen, we have you covered. Just search Henrico CTE Now, and you should be able to find us on your favorite platform. All right, let's get to our guest today. We have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Chris Williams, President/CEO of Henrico Federal Credit Union. And I added the slash because that's what it said on the website. So I was like, I'm going to say President/CEO. Could you say President and CEO? Would that work too, Mr. Williams?
Absolutely. You should say that as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming out. Well, thank you so much for allowing us, especially in today's climate, to come in here. And we are socially distanced. We have an appropriate amount of distance between us coming out into your branch here in the West End and hang out and talk a little bit about your industry with you. So speaking of that industry, how did you get started, Mr. Williams, here in finance, in business?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been in finance for about 27 years. Graduated from York College in Pennsylvania with a degree in finance and a concentration in money and banking, and was very fortunate to, after graduation, I got a position with a consumer finance company in a management training program, and I like to say I was able to learn everything from the front door to the back door of that business, and eventually found myself here in 1997 here at Henrico Federal Credit Union.
Okay, so how long have you been with the credit union, and how did you make that? What were you starting out as? How'd you get in the door, and how'd you end up where you are right now?
Sure. So after I was at the consumer finance company, I was actually in Culpeper at the time, and I wanted to come back to Richmond. So I had an opportunity to work for a savings bank, I guess you would say, here in Henrico. I was there for a few years and saw the opportunity at Henrico Federal Credit Union. Thought it'd be an opportunity to grow and to do something a little bit different. So I joined the credit union again in 1996 as the operations manager. I was in that role for just about 5 years and then had the opportunity to move into the president CEO position in 2001.
All right. So how would you compare those two positions? I know I'm going a little bit off the sheet here. So how would you compare those two positions? Like, what were the biggest changes for you, and how were you able to, I guess, adapt to those changes?
Sure. So there were some similarities. So at the time, the operations manager position was responsible for managing more of the retail operations, so the branch operations. So I kind of saw everything, if you will, kind of on the front side of the house. And the CEO position had a bigger view of the credit union, managing all of the operations, finances and things such as that. So I like to say that my opportunity to be in the operations manager role for 5 years did give me a good foundation for when I moved into the CEO position, because I knew all the day-to-day operations and day-to-day aspects of the credit union.
Awesome. So how did you get interested in finances to begin with? So it was like, I woke up one day, you always had a knack for math, and we'll get to that math part in a second here. Yeah. But like, so what made you interested in finances to begin with?
Good question. There's nothing that really stands out specifically. In high school, kind of gravitated sometimes to more leadership type positions, different clubs and opportunities at school. And I knew I wanted to do something in the business arena. So kind of stayed focused, through high school. When I went to college, picked my path, my degree, and just kind of stayed on that through my career.
Okay. All right. Was there anything that you did maybe prior to college that maybe helped you out in the long run?
Specific to finances, no. Nothing that I can think of specifically. But I did have some great learning opportunities from a first job perspective. My first job in high school was actually working at a library as what was called a page. Basically, primary job responsibility was shelving books. And something I always like to share with folks is typically a shift was about 3 hours after school, and there were a few other pages. On average, you would put away about 1 cart of books during your shift. But sometimes I would maybe put away 1.5 or 2. And some of my fellow pages came to me one day and said, "Hey, we're only supposed to put away 1 cart of books." I was like, "Well, no, actually, I think it's at least 1 cart of books."
The minimum is 1
The
cart.
minimum is one
Right.
cart of books. So that's something at an early age that I learned, and I've kind of taken that with me through my career, and I try to share that with others that don't just focus on doing the minimum, but try to do more than maybe you have to or more than what's expected. And then hopefully that will help you either as a student or when you get in your career to be able to continue to grow and advance.
So basically, just do your best. If you can do more, right?
Correct.
And if your best is doing 1 rack of books in an hour, but if you can reach for more and aspire for more, do more, right, Mike?
Yeah, and don't let others pull you down.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't. Absolutely
Because
not.
that's something that I've heard a lot of times myself. I mean, in the past, is like, why are you working so hard? Because I'm just doing my job.
Doing your job and you want to do it well.
Well, it sounded like, did you gravitate towards more of the leadership positions that you were talking about in school and such, but you obviously had somewhat of a love or passion for it seems like in banking, everybody thinks, well, you must really love math. But, I mean, did that really come into play also somewhat? Or is it really just you just wanted to really be, because you said you really wanted to be involved in business.
Sure.
So
probably not
the business side versus the math.
Yes, absolutely. More the business side than the math side. I think I enjoy seeing something grow and being a part of that growth. Mm-hmm. So I think in the world of credit unions or in general business world, that's something you hopefully get to do, is to take an organization, help to guide it, help to develop it, and help to grow it. And that's really where more of my passion was and is. And then, of course, being with a financial institution, the math kind of comes along with the job.
Because of the territory, right?
But the I guess now, when there had been a point where it's like, I'm really liking the banking side versus another type of business. This was your passion. What was there a point? Is there something that where you go, this is where I really want to be?
Yep. So I can answer that question kind of more specific to credit unions. So I briefly shared my path to getting here to the credit union, starting out with a consumer finance company, then moving to a savings bank, and then to the credit union. And another life lesson I learned in my first job, being at the consumer finance company, and that was really my first exposure to seeing how credit works. And with the consumer finance company, a lot of our business was basically helping folks finance not home purchases, but like home goods, so furniture and things like that.
Right.
And being able to look at the cost of credit to say, okay, well, I'm going to get my bed and my nightstand and my dresser, and it's going to cost me X amount of dollars, but after I pay the payments for 2.5 or 3 years, it's going to cost me Y, right?
Right.
And being able to see that firsthand on paper kind of gave me insight that from a consumer perspective, maybe it's better to either shop around for a better rate, or even better yet, maybe plan for that purchase, save for it, and then what you would have paid for the purchase and the finance, you can get more furniture or put some of that in savings or whatever the case might be. So that was kind of my first exposure in the world of finance, if you will. And then kind of from a passion perspective and deciding where you want it to be and kind of spend your career, joining Henrico Federal Credit Union and understanding the difference between a bank and a credit union and our philosophy really, for me, was somewhere I wanted to be at a credit union. And that's what has driven me to be here now for 24 plus years.
As a banking customer, somebody who comes in your door and maybe they've always been with a bank in the past, what makes a credit union different than a bank? I mean, there's a lot of people that probably would ask that very question. Is it the same? Is it not?
Sure. So from the outside, I would say it probably looks very similar, right? So your products and your services are going to look very similar at a bank or a credit union. But the biggest difference is our structure. A credit union is a not-for-profit cooperative, and we're owned by our members, and we're actually also controlled by our members through our volunteer board of directors. So really everything we do from sun up to sundown is really for the benefit of our owners, but our owners are our members. So we're doing everything for our members. And then they have a voice through their ownership in the credit union to help guide us as well. So that's the biggest difference, really, the structure and how the credit union is positioned.
Okay, so speaking of structure, let's talk a little bit about different positions inside of the credit union. You hear about working at a credit union or even working at a bank in general. How much math is involved, and do you have to really enjoy math a lot to work here or work in finances or work at a credit union or work at a bank?
So every position at the credit union is going to involve some level of math because we are dealing with our members' money and their finances. Some positions are going to require more than others, but everyone's going to need to have a good understanding of basic math. Wouldn't say you have to love math, but you definitely need to
understand it.
Understand it. And enjoy it.
I was about to say respect it.
Respect it.
You gotta respect
yes.
the math. You gotta respect the math.
That's a great word. But probably more important, or equally as important, as understanding basic mathematical concepts, would really be more your ability to be analytical when you're looking at numbers. What do the numbers say? Whether that's using statistics to look for trends, or if it may be working with a member to help them make a decision between buying car A or car B, or financing at the dealership versus financing at the credit union, and being able to do kind of the analytics, if you will, or seeing what the numbers mean and then explaining that to someone else.
Right. So just not only knowing 2 + 2, but understanding what 2 + 2 could equal for somebody and why that is important. And on that topic, we talk a lot about financial literacy. CTE also covers business courses. How important do you think financial literacy is to the community as a whole?
I think financial literacy is probably more important today than it's ever been. How we live our lives is very different. We don't necessarily use cash the same way we used to before. So now if we're using a credit or a debit card, that kind of separates us a little bit from from the money that we have in our account.
Right. It's a little bit easier to swipe as opposed to like pulling out like 100. You could swipe 100 easily and you feel a little bit less connected because you're not giving that dollar away essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. So the shift to plastic, if you will, kind of the ease of online shopping, I think very much can help people maybe spend more than they were planning to. So I think financial education, financial literacy is more important today than ever. Really understanding money, understanding credit, understanding interest, whether that's on the loan side or the deposit side, will give people knowledge, and then hopefully with that knowledge they can then use that to help self-regulate, if you will, when it comes to spending or budgeting or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I'm still working on that budgeting and spending piece, especially with Amazon, man. They got that click to buy real quick. Dude, I have got to remove my card or something because, Mike, I get myself into some financial issues when I see something that I think I might need and I hit that click to buy and then boom, it's right there.
My financial advisor lives with me, so she's like, "What did you do? What did you buy? What did you buy?" you use the card.
But no doubt, right, Mike? I mean,
Yeah.
financial literacy is just something like many of the CTE courses, something that you'll be able to use whether you get into the business career, whether you work at a federal credit union or you work at a bank. It's something you can use. It's really one of those life skills.
Right. I just think that it is so important for students. I think maybe sometime in the past it might have lost some of its value when it came to part of teaching kids growing up.
Yeah.
Maybe the parents weren't promoting it as like they used to, and maybe even the educational institutions weren't. But I really do think it is so important right now because, when it comes to the CTE world, we're all about getting kids ready to go to college, to go to their first job, their career,
Go to college
go to the
and
military.
be ready for life in general.
Exactly. And in all those aspects is if they don't go with that skill set of being able to handle their own finances, I think that it's something they're going to struggle with for a long time. I know I without my wife Michelle, it'd be horrible. I'd be
Shout
a
out
mess
to
right
Michelle.
now. Exactly. So thank you, Michelle. So, but I think it's really important that that we have the business classes and the financial classes so that the kids get exposed to that, because we can't sit there and tell them, this is the path to the career you've chosen. And in many of those cases, those students are like, yes, this is the career, but I also want to be my own boss. I want to own my own business. And they're never going to get to that point where they could open up their own business despite their skills without having that financial piece in their pocket. They're going to have a difficult time getting started or keeping it going once they do.
I totally agree, Mike. We are speaking with Mr. Chris Williams, President and CEO of Henrico Federal Credit Union here on Henrico CTE Now. And Mr. Williams, how do we better promote that? How do we better promote financial literacy from a schooling standpoint?
One of the things that has already happened, but I think we continue to build upon, is the economics and personal finance courses that are offered through Henrico County Public Schools and elsewhere here in the state of Virginia. I think that's going to hopefully give students a good foundation, to your point, that they're better equipped to move out into the world after graduation. I think as adults, as parents, making sure that we listen to our young people. I shared, I think, before we started recording today, that I have 2 children, both in high school. And I think as adults, sometimes as we mature and as we age, we forget some of the basic questions that young people need answers to. So as a father, it's been very kind of eye-opening sometimes to hear the questions my children ask. And that reminds me that when I'm working with young members of the credit union or working with my staff on how we help to educate our members, that we need to make sure that we listen to the needs of young folks and kind of how they think and what they need to know, because sometimes as adults we forget what it was like when we were 16 or 17 years old.
Yeah, so how does that work? How does the onboarding program usually work here? Like, say I'm young and I'm interested in working for the Federal Credit Union, Henrico Federal Credit Union. How does that work? Because a lot of students are worried about having little experience and then coming in, and the big fear is getting here, in a job or in a field that they are excited about, and just not knowing enough to make the grade.
Sure. So in the case of the credit union, we have had opportunities in the past and hopefully also in the future where we have worked with students with Henrico County Public Schools that were interested in learning more about and being a part of the credit union. And in that case, we have just worked with them really just from the ground up to help train them and educate them on what is involved in being an employee of the credit union. What does it mean to help assist another member with their financial transaction? what it means to be a cooperative, what it means to be a credit union, and just try to lay out those foundational items so that that student will be better informed and better prepared.
How is it that the credit union gets involved with the community? I know that there's probably a lot of things y'all do because you are the actual members are part of the community, which separates y'all from being a regular bank. How do y'all get involved with that community?
So in lots of different ways. One of the ways we're most involved is probably through our financial outreach. We have a full-time financial ambassador that goes out into the community, into the schools, and as a resource to teachers to provide financial education in person when we can do in person.
When that decides to come back.
Yeah, when that returns, right, eventually.
So through our financial ambassador being out in the community is a great way we try to provide community outreach. And then for young people that come into the credit union, we have programs for them as well. Helping them get their first checking account, possibly opening a youth certificate account that pays a higher dividend rate so they can actually see their money working.
Oh, that's nice.
And then for our youngest members, we have something called the RU Crew, which is a youth program, and we provide financial education through that as well. We've tried to adapt. Since we can't always be face-to-face, our team here at the credit union has done a great job moving programs to Facebook Live so that folks can still be a part of that and join us virtually. And if they can't watch us right then, the great thing is they can watch us later. So
right, it's saved right there. So
yeah,
you kind of get a video on demand type of.
And you can go back to it later.
Yeah, you can always go back to it later, watch a little bit, go back to it. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, that business is is under the umbrella of CTE. So just talk about the importance of career and technical education and all.
So I think career and technical education is a great opportunity for students to learn real-world experiences, have hands-on opportunities, and really kind of get to see career paths more in a real-world setting, opposed to maybe just reading about it more in theory or things such as that. So I think that's very important, letting folks have that opportunity to learn by doing versus simply maybe by again, reading about it or listening to a conversation or something like that.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is that it's an opportunity that the students wouldn't normally have, and then they get to do something in high school where they can maybe try something that they find out this is not where I thought I was going to go.
Yeah,
this is not. I thought it was going to be cool, but now that I've tried it out, now they can change paths. Where if they did that later, such as the many students who change their major in college because once they get there and they go, this is not where I wanted to go.
Tax on a whole half a semester and things like that after that.
Exactly. That hands-on experience, actually getting real-world knowledge of a particular career, I think is so important for high schoolers and even middle schoolers, because the amount of programs that we have in the middle schools too. And give them that opportunity so they can try some different things, and so that by the time they graduate, they know better where they're going to be.
So how does that help you guys out in the long run too? Because I'm sure like having better prepared students coming out of high school, or into the workforce or out of college and then working for you guys, how does that help you guys out in the long run?
Well, I think anytime that a young person has that experience in the workplace is going to benefit any employer when someone's coming in new, that they already kind of understand some of the basic responsibilities of what it means to have a job, what it means to show up on time, to schedule your leave appropriately.
Workplace readiness.
Our workplace readiness
yes.
skills. I was thinking the same thing, yeah.
So I think that benefits the credit union, but any other employer as well that may be hiring a younger employee. So I think that benefits us greatly.
All right. So what do you see for the future of, and this is the last question here so we can wrap things up, because I'm pretty sure you're pretty busy as president/CEO, president and CEO. So what do you see for the future of, CTE, career technical education, as far as the business world is concerned?
First thing that comes to mind is just continuing to evolve with society. as the world changes, we need to change with it. And that's going to impact how we educate and how folks learn as well. I said a few minutes ago about listening to young people so that we can make sure that we help them. And to me, that's critical. As things change, we have to change as well, especially in our industry. Not that many years ago, people would do more things in person, and now things are being done more online and more electronically. So we have to make sure that the skills that we're sharing and providing to our young people are ready for that world.
Yep. The only thing that remains constant in the universe is change.
Yes, exactly.
So you got to be able to adapt. So I want to thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for coming out. Or I would say coming out. I want to thank you so much for allowing us to come out and invade your space here at the West End branch of Henrico Federal Credit Union. Thank you so much for being on Henrico CTE now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, guys. That's it for us here today. I want to remind you, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all at the handle Henrico CTE. Mike, tell them where they can find the podcast.
You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, radio.com, on and on and on. It's major, minor podcast venues. Go for it. Like and subscribe. Click on the button.
Click on the button. Like and subscribe or whatever is appropriate, you know what I mean, for whatever platform you listen on. Just search Henrico CTE now, and you should be able to find us. All right, guys, again, that is it. I've been Reshawn Garnett. For Mike Roberts. I don't know why I want to call him Mike Williams there. Mixed you guys up right there. For Mike Roberts. For Chris Williams, I'm Reshawn Garnett. Until next time, so long, everyone.